Hello and welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg, and we are 6 days away from Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive arriving in comic shops all over the world. I could not be more excited. I feel like I have spent years working on this book, making this book, because I guess I have spent years working on this book. I am so excited to get it in your hands, to get it out in the world at large. And I have a favor to ask all of you. Take a picture of the book and where you pick the book up at. I am curious to see what shops are carrying the book, where you can find it, and I'd like to share that information. So take a picture, post it online, post it to your social media, tag me, and let me know who the good comic shops are out there in the world. I've been sending care packages to stores that I know pre-ordered Street Angel. If your store is one of those, please let me know. Let the world know. It's always good to find a good comic shop, so if yours is one of those shops, please share it. I'll be happy to signal boost that. For anybody new to Street Angel, she is a homeless ninja on a skateboard having superhero adventures, but maybe not looking like your typical superhero. She does not wear tights, but she does kick ass. And if you are unfamiliar with Street Angel, we did do a video commentary. Ed and I go through Street Angel's dog page by page and talk about some of the creative decision making behind that story. That is some indication of what you can expect from Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive. If you have read Street Angel Princess of Poverty, this is basically all of the Street Angel comics since Princess of Poverty. These two books comprise all the Street Angel comics that exist up to this point. This is all of the comics that Image has published, as well as a couple that Image did not publish. So pick up this book, 240 pages, full color, $20 in stores everywhere in 1 week, actually in 6 days. So I can't wait to start hearing what you all think of it. You know, you create these comics. It takes a long time to create 240 pages of comics, as you can imagine. And it's very exciting once these books actually get out and you start to hear feedback from readers. So pick it up. Let me know what you think. Let me know where you found it. And spread the word, man. Share it with friends. It is a self-contained book. It's perfect for new readers. It's a perfect place to start with Street Angel. If you're new to my work, if you're new to the character, this is the perfect introduction for you or for your friends. So please spread the word. And I think the print run's a little bit low. So if you want to give any of these for Christmas gifts, stock up on them now. And again, let me know where you're finding these things. If your store does not have Street Angel, tell them to order it. You know, it's an Image book. It's something they can reorder from Diamond as long as the print run lasts. And there's no reason that your comic shop shouldn't have one of these. It's not a good comic shop if it doesn't have one of these. So look out for their best interest. Tell them they need to order one if it's not already on the shelf. And if they sell out, make sure they restock. Come on, people, get with it. A couple of stores that I know you can find Street Angel at are 4Color Fantasies in Winchester, Virginia. I will be there this Saturday for their Halloween festival. It's the official launch of Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive. I'll be signing books. I also did a drawing that we will be giving away at the store. It's a very action-packed Street Angel drawing. If you are subscribed to Cartoonist Kayfabe, you may have gotten a notification when I was inking this drawing in a live stream. I have kept that live stream up. We have a playlist of the live streams that are available, so you can watch that. I don't know how long I'll keep that live, but for now, it is available on that playlist. So give that a shot if you like to watch drawing videos. You can see me ink the entire piece, mostly with a brush, something I don't use as much now as I used to. Gotten good feedback on that video. So if you're somebody that's into that, it is available right now. Check that one out. Next Wednesday, I will be signing Street Angel at Phantom of the Attic in Oakland and Pittsburgh, along with Tom Scioli, who will be there for Fantastic Four Grand Design #1 release. Honorary member of Cartoonist Kayfabe, Tom Scioli, definitely a favorite among all of you. So you can come out and feed two birds with one worm, as the new expression goes. We will be there next Wednesday at, I think, 4 p.m., starting at 4 p.m. So come out to Phantom of the Attic in Oakland if you're in the Pittsburgh area, and we will be happy to sign your books and talk comics and all that good stuff. And if you're not familiar with Phantom of the Attic in Oakland, it is a great comic shop and well worth a visit. So come out whenever we're there and feed 3 birds with 1 worm. I don't know if this is working, but hope to see all of you there. And like I said, I am sending out some care packages to stores that carry Street Angel. So if you are not able to make it to one of the signings that I am at, please tell your store to reach out to me and I'll be happy to send them a care package. It's not quite as good as seeing me in person, but it's the best I can do depending on where their store is located. So besides promoting books and talking about book releases, I continue to work on my next book. I can't tell you too much about the content, but I thought you might be interested in some of the process stuff and where I'm at with that book right now. So I am in the writing phase. I'm hoping to get to the drawing part possibly by the end of October. It's moving along steady, but right now I am at the phase of writing everything on index cards. And I brought these index cards along to kind of show, these are the index cards I wrote for Act 1 of my running comic. That is something I imagine being about 200 pages or so in all. So this is Act 1. I don't know how many cards are there, but to give you some idea of where I'm at on the story I'm working on now, this is the current pile of cards that I have for that. The way this process works, at least in my experience, is in the early parts, you kind of brainstorm. You're just writing down ideas, everything that you think of in a lot of ways, and the story can be very big. And then once you have a good idea of what is in the story, a good sense of the structure of that story and the details that are involved, then you can start to shape those things and start the editing process. And that's kind of what these cards are for me. I'm laying out everything I can think of for this story, and then I'm going to have to go through and make some hard decisions. Some may not be that hard, but it's a lot of information to try to organize and to try to get into, the heart of the story, what the story is about, and it's part of the editing process. It's not always easy, but I enjoyed this writing process with the running comic I was working on, so I've kind of ported it over to apply to this new project. And so far, so good. One of the things that I struggle with laying out a story is being able to kind of see it all in front of me. And it's one thing the index cards makes a little bit easier. I don't want to go to a word processor at this stage yet. I like to kind of stay away from the screens in this early writing process. It's a little bit more organic. I feel a little bit better with it, but I end up with pages and pages in my notebook of story. And it's a little bit unyieldy. It's hard to edit. It's hard to manage whenever you're writing several pages, and I have pieces of scenes scattered throughout several pages. It's very hard to organize. It's very hard to edit. One of the things that the index cards makes easy is that you can move things around. You can rearrange times. You can add to things whenever you get new ideas and suddenly a scene expands a little bit. It's very easy to just slip a few index cards in between the previous ones and try to construct a more or less linear version of your story, something that you can really look at. Basically, it's a very, very rough, very early draft. And once you have that in front of you, it becomes a lot easier, at least in my experience, to kind of shape that and really start to edit that and get a feel of the size of the story, where it's going, what's most important, what's redundant. And so that is where I'm at right now. It's chugging along. This is also, it's a very enjoyable process in a lot of ways because it's kind of brainstorming, it's free form. It's really dreaming big and whatever crazy idea you come up with, it has a place at this stage. That can be enjoyable. The frustrating part is I want to start drawing, and unfortunately I am not there yet, but it's getting closer. Hopefully I'll be there, within a week or possibly 2 weeks. And once you start drawing, at least as a cartoonist, once you start drawing, it's very satisfying because now you feel like you're making progress. You're seeing, the the results of this foundation that you lay in the writing process. So it is coming along. I'm chipping away at it. I don't know how many people that watch this are freelancers, but one thing that happens with me as a freelancer is I end up with constantly, I have lists of things to do. And sometimes that list gets out of hand. Several years ago, the list was out of hand to the point of I just tried to shut it all down and decided I wasn't going to take on more work. You know, there was more than I could really manage. And so it took me 2 years to work through that to-do list. And a few things certainly come up. Sometimes jobs pop up that you just can't say no to. They're too good. You know, they may be a dream project in some cases. So I've been trying to whittle down my to-do list over the last couple of months. And I am thrilled to say that I am pretty much trimmed it down now to the class that I teach at SVA, Cartoonist, Kayfabe, and this project that I'm currently working on. These are the main things that are on my list now. It's the shortest my list has been forever. I'm sure small things will pop up here and there, but for now I am in the mode of trying to say no to everything and concentrating on these couple of projects that have my attention. And this is part of the cycle, at least the cycle that I have experienced as a freelancer. You know, it ebbs and flows. You get a couple of big projects going, you end up pushing those smaller ones aside. Often what happens, and the reason my lists ebb and flow the way they do, when I'm working on a book, the book tends to take over my work schedule as much as possible. And so a lot of the things that I tell people I will do, they get added to the list, and whenever a book is wrapped up, then I start going through that list and kind of working through those things. So like I said, I have been clearing my schedule. That has taken up a lot of my time over the last couple of weeks of trying to get to the point where I can just concentrate on this next comic, and I'm happy to say that's where I'm at. So pretty exciting from my end. I will be traveling a little bit to both promote the Street Angel book. Ed and I have a couple of travel dates in November. I will be then moving into promoting the Plain Janes, so I suppose that's another element that'll be on my to-do list somewhat sporadically over the next couple of months. But that is part of, that's part of the job, that's part of cartooning. Whenever these books come out, you do want to go and talk about them and share them and sign them and do what you can to make sure these books find receptive readers. So that's always part of the plan. It's part of why we do this channel. And I want to thank all of you that I have met at events over this past year. Looking forward to seeing a few more of you in Kansas City coming up in November and in Charlotte at the end of the month. So stay tuned for more information on that. Speaking of promotion, I just wrapped up an interview with Previews World, which will be published, I believe, November 4th. It's a video interview, so that will be coming up. But one of the questions that I was asked was about the state of indie comics and how indie comics have changed since I started making comics. My first comics convention was in 2000, so I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And one of the first conventions that I went to was the Small Press Expo, which many of you probably are familiar with. That is an indie-focused comic book show. And as such, I have seen a lot of changes in the indie comics landscape. One of the things that it reminds me of, and by all means, tune into Previews World when this interview comes up, and you can hear a little bit more about that specific question. But one thing it made me think about is territory wrestling. A lot of the podcasts that I enjoy about wrestling, they talk about the history of wrestling, and that history up until the mid 80s or so, maybe the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in there. Wrestling really changes as it moves away from the territory system into basically WWF, WWE, what we see now. And a lot of things changed between those two models. The territory wrestling system was basically live shows were the main revenue generator. Whereas today, WWE has a subscription service, they do pay-per-view events, they do giant live events all over the world. It's a very different model than the territory system. And thinking about indie comics and how much they have changed since I've been making comics, or even going back further, since I've been reading indie comics, I wonder about those changes. I think about this kind of stuff a lot, where the industry is, where I want to go. Make no mistake, these are selfishly motivated, these thoughts. But I am curious about, what has changed in the comics industry and what hasn't. Going through Wizard Magazine, we have seen a lot of illustration of things that haven't changed. People have been complaining about crossovers, certainly since the beginning of Wizard Magazine publication 30 years ago. We have read editorials in Wizard magazines from 1993 talking about pre-ordering your comics at a comic shop. That model is still the primary model for the direct market. Nevertheless, things have changed. I believe this is the first year where book sales of books through, graphic novels, through channels outside of the direct market have, I believe, pulled even with or surpassed direct market sales. That's a significant, shift in the market. The last time I think we saw a shift like that was around 1986, whenever the direct market sales surpassed newsstand sales. So I do think about that, and I wonder, how have we changed? When you think of wrestling, it's very clear to see that territory system just does not exist anymore. And I wonder, what model we are looking at now in terms of comics and the comics industry going forward. Even where we are at now, there's so many different outlets that we're selling comics through. Has the model changed? I don't know, but it's something that I think about. It's something that came up on that Previews World interview, so stay tuned for that. I'll certainly share links whenever that interview goes live, but something that's on my mind in terms of comics. So speaking of comics that are on my mind, you notice Ed is not here again this week. Ed continues his manga quest in Japan, and in my opinion, it has entered a dream level. It's been amazing. I recommended last week that everybody should follow the Cartoonist Kayfabe Instagram feed. That is where I'm seeing most of what Ed is sharing, and it is just focused on manga. So if you love comics, now is a great time to follow the Cartoonist Kayfabe Instagram, just to see what Ed is taking in Japan. His recent post was about a visit to the Weekly Shonen Jump offices, where he received a tour from the editor-in-chief of Weekly Shonen Jump. Many thank yous to Mr. Hiroyuki Nakano. Very graciously gave Ed a tour of the offices. Ed took a lot of pictures. He shared those. He posted those on Instagram. So give it a follow. If you love comics, it's all comics. You won't be disappointed in that. And I'm sure we'll hear from Ed some more over these next couple of weeks as he wraps up his trip. But if you want to stay informed, that's the best place to do it. And he's been sending me some emails of amazing things that are happening there. I can't wait until he gets back. I feel like we're going to have like a 10-hour video unpacking or something. Not sure how we'll manage all of that, but he is going to come back loaded for bear. I am very confident of that part. And I am looking forward to seeing what he brings back in the suitcases in terms of the manga that he has been picking up, just the little bits that he's shared with us so far. Man, I can't wait to thumb through some of those issues. So we'll definitely be taking a closer look at that stuff when he returns. Speaking of Instagram, one of the things that all of you guys have been doing that I love is taking pictures of the Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts that appear at comic book conventions around the land. I saw from this past weekend, I saw pics from Memphis Comic-Con, Mice in Boston, and this great picture from Baltimore Comic-Con featuring Brian K. Vaughan wearing one of the Read More Comics t-shirts. I've been a big fan of Brian K. Vaughan for a long time. He's been very supportive of my work over the years, so awesome to see him wearing a t-shirt. And thank you to the Real Zoobs for sharing this picture with us. It brings a smile to my face and to everybody who picks up the Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts and merchandise and then takes them out to the shows. Thank you so much. This channel has been growing steadily since we started it. The reason that it grows is because all of you are sharing it, spreading, word of mouth, and basically just sharing your love of comics with everyone. So thank you so much for doing that. Please keep that up. And if you're wearing Cartoonist Kayfabe merchandise at any of these upcoming shows, make sure you share a pic and tag us in that photo. We love seeing it, and we love seeing the love. So keep that up. Several people asked last week about my workspace. I am recording this in my workspace here, site B of Cartoonist Kayfabe. So I thought I would do a little spin around this workspace. I picked up a gimbal. I'm hoping to do a little bit more visits to comic book shops, other creators, studio spaces and workspaces. And so it's something we hope to add to the channel as we get into year 2 of Cartoonist Kayfabe. And why not start here? So here is a glimpse of my workspace and some of the artwork that's on the wall in this workspace. Welcome to my workspace. A few of you have asked to see this. Normally there's a chair sitting in front of that drawing table, but I removed it for the sake of this video. I hope to visit more people's studio and workspaces in the future, so this is a little bit of a test run for that. And I thought I would just kind of go around the room once here. You can see my computer station, a little bit messy, bookshelves all over the place, and I think every wall has a shelf. And I thought I would just go around, and to keep this video under 15 hours, I would just focus on maybe what's hanging on the walls. So we'll just start and walk around the room in this order. This is like the Farrell Dalrymple wall. So these are all pieces that Farrell has done. This is a page from the original Pop Gun War. This is one that I probably traded maybe a Street Angel page for. One thing that happens a lot with Cartoonist is you get to know each other and see each other at shows and things, and it's pretty common to do some art trades. So I believe this is a piece that I traded early on whenever I first met Farrell. Beautiful page. Love these open panels, by the way. This is something that I've only recently started using in my own work, and you can see his lettering. Always been a fan of Farrell's lettering, and it was strong from the beginning. Even the page number is beautiful. This is a piece from Wrenchies. I'm not sure if this made it into the book, into the final cut or not, but I did a show, Emerald City, with Farrell one year, and he had a bunch of artwork from Wrenchies, and a lot of it was in pieces. It wasn't like, it wasn't like this, like a full page. It was more like this, and I don't know if it was edits or if that's just how he was working on a lot of that book, but it would be like panels, pieces of pages, and they were beautiful, as you can see, watercolored, lettering on the page, great looking characters. And he ended up giving me this, he had a big stack of these, and I guess this was a piece that didn't sell. He ended up giving it to me at the end of the weekend. I love it. I think it's beautiful. Very cool. Thank you, Farrell. And then the prize Farrell piece, at least here on the wall, is the Street Angel pinup that he did back in the probably 2005 or so. The original Street Angel trade paperback. I had a bunch of my friends and cartoonists I like do pinups of Street Angel. This is Farrell's contribution. He gave me the drawing afterwards, and it's one of my favorite pieces of comic book art that I have, and it's a great Street Angel. Beautiful piece. Ninjas, the New York City skylines that he's so good at drawing. It's kind of the perfect piece. Moving on, you guys who watch the channel know that Dave Cooper and Dave Cooper's Weasel are comics that have had a pretty big impact on me. So I've been a Dave Cooper fan for a while. Not just Weasel, but Weasel's the comic that was like my gateway to Dave Cooper. And I finally made it to a show where Dave Cooper was exhibiting at Heroes Con one year, and he had a bunch of these loose drawings. And so I grabbed a couple. I think they look great in the frame. It's cool to see his drawings in person because he works in a lot of different media. I think right now he's probably known for his painting, but he's also, done great black and white ink work. This one is actually in pencil. I don't know if you can tell that on the video or not, but this is another piece that kind of moved me towards doing more work in pencil, is seeing his pencils, seeing his artwork in original form, and realizing that he was reproducing pencils in some cases with beautiful results. So I was able to grab a couple of these whenever I saw him in Charlotte. This is inked, but it's inked with two different colors of ink, and you can see a little tiny bit of blue line underneath the inked drawing there. This is the great Roger Langridge. I think I picked this up at maybe SPX one year. It's funny, you get on these con trips and you end up seeing like the same people at several shows in a year, because when you have a book, you do more shows. So this must have been a time whenever one of Roger's books was coming out. He might have been doing Muppets around this time. I remember that book making a lot of noise. And so he would bring his original art along to these shows, and it's just gorgeous. It's perfect. In some ways it resembles Jim Woodring's intricate ink line a little bit. This is another great open panel. I love that it's in the middle of the page, and I just fell in love with this one. This is, I think, from Fred the Clown, although it could just be a Fred the Clown story that ran in one of his other books. I can't remember the name of the book, if it is Fred the Clown or if it's a different collection, but there's lots of great bits of his technique on display. I love the way those action lines kind of fade out into white as they get closer to the character. So really great piece. Elektra Assassin by Bill Sienkiewicz. Fans of Cartoonist Kayfabe may remember early on in Cartoonist Kayfabe, I mentioned that I was looking for this poster. What had happened was, I remembered this poster from my childhood. I feel like I used to see it in comic shops all the time, and then, that was 30 years ago. As an adult, I fell in love with Elektra Assassin, the comic book, and I always loved this image. I started looking for it. I found it on eBay, but very expensive. So one of the Cartoonist Kayfabe listeners, Dave Howlett, manager of Strange Adventures in Halifax, one of the great comic book stores that I've been to, he found this poster, I don't know if it was in the store or what, and sent it to me. So give Dave Howlett a follow. He's also a very good cartoonist. He does a wrestling, like an 80s style wrestling comic called Slamorama, and I love this poster. I think it's one of the iconic comic book covers. Elektra, to me, is one of the best ninjas in comics, and Elektra Assassin, one of the best ninja comics. And this cover is just iconic to me. I love it without the logo like this on the stark white background. Really a great piece. And also that magical year of 1986, the year the direct market ascended. Moving along, we come to Stephen Platt. Probably the peak of Stephen Platt was around his early time on Prophet, at least my favorite Stephen Platt. This is the pull-out poster from Wizard, I want to say 34 or Wizard 35 maybe. It's the cover art for that issue, and then inside of the issue was this pull-out poster that's a couple times bigger than the cover itself. It's hard to imagine this poster with this level of detail shrunk down for a cover. I also sympathize with the poor colorist who had to color all of those shell casings and stuff. And if you look, they're double lit, so that's a tall order for a colorist, man, but pretty cool poster. One of the first things that I pulled whenever I started getting back into Wizard magazine was this poster. Very fun. These are some oversized books that don't easily fit on the shelves up here. And this pile of books, this is actually Johan Petersen's Nash self-published series out of Denmark. This is a series that I hope to showcase on a show and tell very soon. Great story behind that one, so stay tuned for that. All right, here we have a print of Miles Davis on a bicycle by Charlotte cartoonist Dustin Harbin. I've known Dustin for a long time. He's one of my favorite people. He's a really good cartoonist, good designer, great eye, very detail oriented. And if you look closely, you'll notice some of that detail in this print because the print is actually 3 colors. It is white, off-white, and black. And something about this drawing just really spoke to me. I love the bike design. I think it looks great. It looks good in a nice black and white frame. So thank you, Dustin Harbin, for that one. This is Jamie Tanner. Tanner is another cartoonist who I got to know probably around the time Aphrodisiac was published. He did a book called The Aviary with AdHouse Books, Aphrodisiac, also published by AdHouse Books. And we ended up doing a lot of shows together one year, because we had books out at the same time, same publisher. And this was another art swap. So The Aviary was a book I really enjoyed when it came out. And Jamie Tanner, a cartoonist, I enjoyed getting to meet and calling a friend. So it's kind of a nice piece, and it looks good in a frame. This is one of the first pieces of original art that I started to appreciate a drawing or a single image rather than a comic book page, because I think it looks really good framed on a wall. So, and then whenever you turn, if we can figure out how to manage this wicked glare, you can see Gary Panter's homage to Jack Kirby. I became aware of this piece from the book In the Studio. In the Studio featured a number of cartoonists like Art Spiegelman, Dan Clowes, Gilbert Hernandez, and Gary Panter. And it would go through and show some of the artwork in their studio, kind of like this video is doing. And this piece really caught my eye whenever they showed Gary Panter. And he talks about Jack Kirby and the influence of Jack Kirby on his work and what he appreciates in Jack Kirby's art. And so this ran in the New Yorker magazine at some point after Jack Kirby died. It's, again, homage to Jack Kirby. It's kind of honoring him. And I always loved this image. So at some point I found a bunch of New Yorker magazines, and I just basically Googled which issue this was in, picked it up, and you get a very nice framed piece for a couple of bucks. Whatever that back issue cost, wasn't very much. But it's really cool to see one artist I like, thinking about and drawing and kind of talking about another artist that I like. So great piece. Love all the cosmic imagery. Nice color, although it might be starting to fade. Doesn't get a lot of direct sunlight despite that wicked glare that you see now. And a quick look at my drawing table since we're here. Many of you might recognize this. This is lettering samples from a hand lettering video that I recently made for Cartoonist Kayfabe. Still fresh on the drawing table. That was a video I actually just did 3 days ago. You can see that now on our channel. And this is a sample of different lettering tools and what those marks look like from the different tools. And this is a drawing of Street Angel I did for an upcoming raffle that will be held at 4Color Fantasy this Saturday. I'm doing a signing and a release party there, part of their Halloween celebration, and I will have this piece with me. So this is another one that I made a video about, basically inking it. It was a live video, so you can find that on our live stream playlist. And pretty happy with how that turned out. A lot of motion. That's kind of what I was after, was trying to make a dynamic image. And what could be scarier than Street Angel bearing down on you with a couple of swords? Special thanks to everyone who donated a super chat while I was inking this piece. Your names are on the screen now. Really appreciate it. All right, so that is my studio space. It's where I do most of my drawing. Most of my editing for that matter, most of my video making, whatever, what have you. At some point, I'm sure we're going to get into some of these shelves and looking at some of this stuff. Oh, and I did want to mention, this is our mail. Anybody interested in sending us any of their comics or doubles or letters or whatever you want to send to Cartoonist Kayfabe, you can reach us through our P.O. Box at 3071 Munhall, PA 15120, and I'll put the address underneath this video. We like to unpack the mail on live streams, so we're gonna have to wait until Ed gets back from Japan to go through all of this. And right now I'm just accumulating boxes, so we're probably gonna have a pretty big mail unbox once he gets back. And that concludes my studio tour for now. Hopefully we'll have several more of these in the near future as we visit some of your favorite cartoonists. All right, so going over book signings and upcoming appearances again very quickly. 4-Color Fantasies this Saturday in Winchester, Virginia. I will be there to launch Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive, and then in Phantom of the Attic on Wednesday, October 30th with Tom Scioli, who will be releasing Fantastic Four Grand Design #1. In November, Ed and I will travel to Kansas City Elite Comics on November 13th. That's Wednesday, New Comic Book Day. And I plan to see how much barbecue I can eat in a 24-hour period. So thank you everyone who has recommended barbecue places. We've got some consensus on a few of them. I am definitely looking forward to that. We will be at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte on November 23rd to celebrate Local Comic Shop Day. We'll be doing a live Cartoonist Kayfabe episode there. And Charlotte is kind of our home away from Pittsburgh. So always happy whenever we get to visit Charlotte, and looking forward to that trip. Heroes is an awesome store. Can't wait to see all of you there. Speaking of comic shop love, we've asked comic book shops to send us their promo videos. If you've been nominated for the Eisner Retailer Award, part of that submission is a promotional video of your store. So we figure, why should the Eisner judges be the only ones who see all of this great store footage? Regardless of whether you have been nominated for an Eisner or not, if your store has a promotional video that you would like to see us share on Cartoonist Kayfabe, you can email us, cartoonist.kayfabe@gmail.com. Let us know where we can find that video, send us a link, send us a download, and we will be happy to show off and promote your store a little bit. We love comic shops, so help us help you. This week we have a comic shop from London called Orbital Comics. Enjoy.
Founded in 2002, Orbital Comics is London's most colourful comic book store. Situated in Covent Garden, at the heart of London's busy West End, we aim to be a one-stop comic shop where you can find all of your requirements. We stock all of the latest US and UK releases, a huge selection of current graphic novels, trade paperbacks, and manga. We employ the use of shelf talkers with helpful staff reviews as well as QR codes which link to podcast discussions, weekly staff picks, and the highly praised Orbital website. Since the very beginning, we have been a strong supporter of the small press, self-published and indie scene in the UK, providing creators with an opportunity to have their work available in a store where it is prominently displayed and promoted. We have over 300 small press titles at any given time, with new editions coming in each week. Being a family-orientated store, we have a dedicated and inviting children's section containing a wide variety of kid-friendly books from around the globe. Orbital has London's largest and best-stocked back issue and vintage comics department, from the Golden Age to current variants. We regularly buy and trade collections to keep this visual history constantly refreshed. All of our graphic design is done in-house by members of our very talented crew, who also provide the unique painted wooden panelling we use to keep backstock away from eager hands. We are the only UK store with a dedicated and curated gallery, featuring rotating exhibitions of original comic art and illustration. These are accompanied by gallery openings, walkthroughs, and related events, which enable creators to sell their work and engage with the public. The majority of our fittings, fixtures, and displays are made from reclaimed materials that have been repurposed to fit our unique ethos and layout. Many of these have come from the theatre next door, as well as businesses in the local area, and have been adapted in-house. The shop hosts 2 regular podcasts. Each have a back catalogue of over 200 episodes. The Orbiting Pod, offers diverse coverage of new releases, as well as genre, creator, or publisher-focused special episodes. Orbital in Conversation offers weekly in-depth interviews with top-tier and upcoming creators. We regularly host book launches and signings, as well as private views for all of our exhibitions. Orbital also holds unique comic-themed art and live drawing classes, often hosted by comics industry professionals. We have live music events from time to time, which have proved very popular, and even include live soundtracking to movies.
Wow, man, that store looks good. I need to visit it very soon. Orbital, if you're watching, maybe bring us out for an episode of Cartoonist Kayfabe in London. That would be amazing. I love the gallery. They do podcasts, super cool. A lot of comic shops have started doing that. I think that's another great way to engage audiences. It looks like they have extensive back issues. Everybody knows that's near and dear to my heart. And they have lots of events, really, I guess, using the comic shop as the center of a community of people who love comics. So very cool video. Great to see that. Hopefully one day I'll actually see Orbital Comics in person. It is one of those stores that I've heard plenty about, and it's on my wish list of stores to visit. So again, if your store has a promotional video, please bring it to our attention, especially if it's something you would like to see us cover and showcase on this weekly episode. Speaking of videos, some recent Cartoonist Kayfabe videos that have gone up. We look at the Mazinger painted graphic novel from First Publishing by Go Nagai. Kind of gearing up for Ed's trip to Japan. It's one of the last show and tells that we recorded, and it's an amazing graphic novel. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend that. It was a very fun book to read and to talk about. We posted Wizard Magazine 33 this past week. A lot of good response to that. I don't know if it's entering a sweet spot where all of you, were readers at that time or what, but it seems like there's a lot of interest in that. It's an interesting time period. Jim Ballant does a Catwoman cover. Ultraverse turns a year old. We get a feature on Mike Allred's Madman. There's been lots of mentions of that comic and of Allred in various columns, so it's fun to see a big feature devoted to him and to that character. Comics Pros, Wizard runs a bunch of comics pros eulogizing Jack Kirby and talking about his impact and what he meant. So pretty strong issue. Definitely check that one out. I made a video on hand lettering. I've been threatening to do that for a while. We've gotten a lot of requests on lettering. Ed and I are both big fans of hand lettering and hand letter a lot of our own comics. So it is hand lettering part 1, and it is just scratching the surface. This is a massive topic, no doubt. But we've gotten a lot of feedback already from people that are interested in it. It kind of goes through some of the tools, some of the processes. Ames Lettering Guide, anyone? So check that one out if you haven't already. I'm very excited for it. Lettering is something I'm interested in and hope to do several more iterations on. Hopefully once Ed gets back, we can get him to weigh in on some of his lettering technique as well. He's one of my favorite letterers. So I think there's a lot more to get into with lettering comics. And I'm not an elitist. I love hand lettering, but I don't think it's the best or the only way to make comics. And so I'd like to get into a lot more of comics lettering and different ideas on comics lettering. I did not even touch on word balloons, so there's a lot more to get into there. Give that one a look. Let me know, what you'd like to see us cover if we do a part 2 of hand lettering or of lettering in general. So you can like, follow, and subscribe Cartoonist Kayfabe. Be sure to hit the little bell icon below this video. That will notify you when we post new videos. It will also notify you whenever we are doing a live stream, whether that's drawing or unboxing comics or going through the mail. We're going to have a massive one of those coming up soon. So make sure you hit that bell icon so that you won't miss any of those live streams. You can pick up Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts and merch at our spread shop. There is a link below the video to that. And right now, I think through Friday is free shipping. So if you've had your eye on one of these great Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirt designs, make more comics, read more comics, whatever the case may be, all of that stuff has free shipping through the end of the week. So go to the link below to check that out. And you know what your marching orders are. Read more comics.